Hey guys, I'm back. Just in time for the F- Halloween special, baby.
But it's June. Halloween isn't until approximately 5 months.
Listen, if people are allowed to have Christmas decorations still up in January when December is 11 months away, I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to celebrate Halloween when it's less than half a year away. On to the episode.
We're gonna be late for the Nightmare Night Festival!
I just want to take a moment and point out Spike's costume. I know the joke is that a purple dragon with green spikes is wearing a purple dragon with green spikes costume, but let's actually think about this. Is the point of the costume to just be a purple dragon with green spikes, or is the point of it to make it look like he's getting eaten by one? Not unlike costumes like these, where the location of your head is actually built into the point of the costume. Strangely, I couldn't really find a costume of a human that would be a direct human translation to this costume, but I'd imagine a traditional human costume would involve a mask like these. I guess that's where this confusion from Spike's costume comes from. If the costume just involved the mask of a dragon head going over his actual face, rather than this, it would be way less confusing. Then again, I wonder where he would have also gotten this costume, considering it's custom tailored for a baby dragon. And with the knowledge we have of the universe from the show till this point, this would be an unsolvable mystery. Since we've seen no evidence of other baby dragons in the show so far, I mean, even knowing what we know now, I guess it still is kind of an unsolvable mystery, besides the assumption that he got it custom made. Then again, there's also small bipedal creatures like this, so who knows, maybe there's a place that just sells bipedal costumes.
But speaking of costumes, the first meaningful exchange we get in this episode is this.
Are you that one kooky grandpa from Ponyville Retirement Village?
I'm Swirl the Bearded, father of the amniomorphic spell. Did you even read that book I gave you about obscure unicorn history?
Pointing out Twilight's Swirl the Bearded costume with such specific precision. Even though it'll be a while before we see him in the flesh, with how much emphasis they're putting on him, we're to assume that he's an important figure in this universe. Especially when this whole shebang is a recurring gag in the episode.
Oh, you make a fantastic weirdo clown.
I reckon you're some sort of country music singer. Swirl the Bearded. Now we even got the bells right.
In retrospect, it's a little odd that they'd put so much emphasis on this fictional historical being and treating it as if it's something we're supposed to be feeling Twilight's frustration here with. Wouldn't this have had so much more impact if we actually knew who he was first? Then again, I guess the implication that we're supposed to be as frustrated as Twilight is here pretty much does the job of cementing that he's an important figure. And we get some lore drops about him later in the episode.
Swirl the Bearded is only the most important conjurer of the pre-classical era. He even has a shelf in the Canterlot Library of Magic named after him. He created more than 200 spells.
But we'll revisit all that if that information ever becomes relevant in the show. For now, we've got some more important stuff to discuss, such as...
That sounds important.
Yeah, such as how Twilight goes completely bald here. That's kind of funny. So are these other frames in this spinning animation. Spike's costume facing the camera is also pretty funny, but also deceivingly terrifying.
Happy Nightmare Night, Granny Smith.
I should have been asleep 5 hours ago.
Yeah, me too, Granny Smith. I don't know why, but I can't ever get to sleep either.
Kind of like how this poor guy couldn't even get an original candy bag, while his peers all have unique ones. Whatever, what's your deal?
Pipsqueak the pirate, at your service. It's my very first Nightmare Night. My very first Nightmare Night ever.
Is this to suggest that he's 1 year old? Probably not, right?
Does this mean that Trottingham just doesn't observe the holiday? I guess you could make the argument that Nightmare Moon just wasn't a widely known thing there, which you could use the fact that Nightmare Moon specifically showed up to Ponyville to torment them in episode 1 as an argument for that, but surely the consequences of Nightmare Moon becoming a thing
One fateful day, the younger unicorn refused to lower the moon to make way for the dawn.
impacted everywhere, including Trottingham, unless Celestia just covered the whole thing up. But speaking of which, it seemed like in episode 1 not many people even knew what Nightmare Moon was.
Don't you know who I am? Does my crown no longer count now that I have been imprisoned for 1,000 years?
And I know who you are. Nightmare Moon.
Well, well, well. Some pony who remembers me.
So I don't know how there's a whole holiday based on her, but sure. The whole incident didn't even originate in Ponyville after all. It originated in Canterlot. So you'd think this would be a more well-known holiday, but okay. I'm willing to bet that this was only established so that they could put this fire-sounding line later on in the episode.
I never thought my very first Nightmare Night would be my very last.
That's bars. Also, these guys might as well be another Cutie Mark Crusaders-esque group, seeing how there's 3 of them and none of them seem to have a cutie mark.
Hey, look, we're here already.
So we get to the town party and...
What the heck are they cheering for? This is like the slowest cart ride I've ever seen. They might as well be snails taking rides on the back of a turtle.
Slow down! I want to get there, but I want to get there alive!
In the party, we see the Cakes dressed as Raggedy Ann and Andy. I wonder if the existence of Raggedy Ann and Andy here also implies Annabelle also exists? Then again, I guess we had our fill of a cursed doll in the previous episode, so it wouldn't even be that much of a big deal if she did.
We went to Cheerilee's house and we got a fight.
Hey, where did Granny Smith go all of a sudden? I guess she traded responsibilities with Pinky off screen. The only information we get is when Pinky says,
And then we had to stop and wait for Granny Smith and then...
but I'm not sure that tells us anything.
Rainbow Dash, that wasn't very nice. Look what you did to Spike.
Oh, it's all in good fun.
Oh, there's another group over there.
It's all in good fun. I mean, she literally gave a baby a heart attack and she's allowed to get away with it because that's her excuse. I gotta start using that one.
Wait a second. Is she mad at Spike or at Rainbow Dash? She's probably mad at Rainbow Dash that she has to carry Spike around now. But I like how the implication there is that Twilight's more mad that she has to carry Spike rather than being concerned about how he literally just suffered a heart attack or how Rainbow Dash scared him, especially when she didn't seem to have any issues with carrying him around in earlier episodes. What I'm slightly mad about is how Rainbow Dash's costume is that of a Shadow Bolt. The evil guys who only appear in this entire franchise as nothing more than a vision made by Nightmare Moon, aka not real. Though I guess it is unknown if the hallucinations were based on an actual group that exists or if the whole concept of Shadow Bolts were thought of by Nightmare Moon. Because if it's the former, I sure do hope that either the Shadow Bolts or Wonder Bolts sued whichever came out after for ripping off their namesake. If it's the latter, I'm not sure how Rainbow Dash got a costume that looks exactly like something that she only saw briefly in a vision in the fog. That's quite an accomplishment. But speaking of costumes...
Happy Nightmare Night, Applejack.
Nice costume. Thanks. I'm a dragon.
She means me, Spike.
Bro literally suffered a heart attack. Can we just let him take a compliment?
Welcome to the Nightmare Night Festival. All the little ponies should follow our friend Zecora to hear the legend of Nightmare Moon.
I see Zecora's been fully integrated as a town friend in between episodes. It's a little odd how that apparently happened, even though it wasn't too long ago where we were literally hiding indoors and abandoning streets when she was in town. It would have been nice to see an actual resolution of the rest of Ponyville accepting Zecora as a friend in an actual episode instead of it all being off screen. But I guess this is one way to do it. If you think about it, the ending of Bridal Gossip only showed Zecora being accepted by, besides the main six and Apple Bloom, the Flower Ponies and one of the Spa Ponies. Therefore, I think it would have been nice if we had like one more episode that entirely focused on Zecora trying to integrate with ponies and ponies trying to not be scared of her. So I'd say this is a tad bit lazy, but I guess if you want to give off the impression that this is a living, breathing world that goes on even when the cameras aren't on, it works. Anyways, then we get some explanation about what this holiday is all about.
Every year, we put on a disguise to save ourselves from her searching eyes. But Nightmare Moon wants just one thing, to gobble up ponies in one quick swing. Hungrily, she soars the sky. If she sees no pony, she passes by. So if she comes and all is clear, Equestria is safe another year.
If you also had no idea what the f she meant by any of that because it's almost in riddle form, essentially the legend is that Nightmare Moon wants to eat ponies. Cannibalism. So you gotta get costumed to hide your true self. Yet you still need to leave some candy as an offering to distract her.
Fill up her belly with a treat or two, so she won't return to come eat you!
This information is only given after Pip asks specifically,
If we wear costumes to hide from Nightmare Moon so she won't gobble us up, how come we still need to give her some of our candy?
why does Pip have to ask for the second part? That seems like, I don't know, a pretty crucial piece of the lore, judging by how the punishment for not doing this is getting eaten. Wow, that is quite the entrance.
Screams of delight is what your princess desires, not screams of terror.
I sure do hope the repairs for that ground comes out of your own princess money pocket and not the taxpayers. Of course, judging by the fact that this woman has once tried taking over the entire world to worship her, and not even in the background as a hidden supervillain, but as somebody who literally showed up in person to advertise her plans to the whole town, it makes sense that the citizens of Ponyville would be a little bit on the edge about her arrival. Yet our princess seems to lack awareness.
Thy princess of the night hath arrived.
The only thing that I'm a little bewildered about is this interaction.
What is the matter with you?
This pony, Raven Inkwell, is shown to be a secretary type of being for Princess Celestia a little later on in the show, meaning that she's employed by the castle, you know, the castle in which Princess Luna herself resides. I wonder if Raven Inkwell actually knows Princess Luna personally, and if so, there'd probably be no reason for her to cower like this. My headcanon is that these two made up a little after this episode was over, and Luna got her a job at the castle after chatting a little. That would make sense since this ain't until season 3. Anyways, this is a strange line.
You can't talk to her. She's Nightmare Moon.
I saw the elements of harmony change her back to good.
This pretty much implies that the understanding of morality in this world is black and white. And if you are good, there's no possibility of you ever being bad again. Or can you also turn bad? Because if so, the possibility of Luna turning bad should have also crossed Twilight's mind. But if once you're good, you remain good, that's something everyone in town should know since they literally all saw that she turned good in a public celebration. Well, Luna runs off and is conveniently at the candy offering place instead of headed back home. I'd probably complain about this, but I actually really like their interaction here.
I just came to welcome you to our celebration. My actual name is
Twilight Sparkle. It was thou who unleashed the powers of harmony upon us and took away our dark powers.
And that was a good thing, right?
But of course, we could not be happier.
This probably slipped my mind watching this episode as a kid, but now I appreciate how awkward and kind of realistic this is. Twilight knows she did a good thing by putting a stop to Nightmare Moon's plans, but actually interacting with her face to face like this is making her consider if Princess Luna also agrees that it was a good thing, or if she's holding a grudge against her because she's talking to the very pony who foiled her plans. This must be a very humbling experience for Luna and a very uncomfortable one for Twilight, especially because Luna then asks the pony who defeated her for additional help here.
I think if you just changed your approach a bit, you might be met with a warmer reception.
We have been locked away for 1,000 years. We are not sure we can.
So they visit Fluttershy, another pony who was there to defeat Luna, which actually shows Luna's humility, for her to learn to speak softer, and it's kind of weird to think that you're allowed to just use lift magic and carry an entire pony's body when that seems like it could and should be legally classified as assault, but what do I know? Also, I think it's a little dumb how, judging by how terrified Fluttershy is here, she'd be quick to be the first one to wear a costume to not get gorged on. It would have been hilarious if there was a joke where after Fluttershy closes the door and it's opened again, she's now in costume, but that might have been more of a Pinkie Pie thing to do. But in that vein, we seem to get some slapstick humor that seemed to drive some of season 1.
How is this?
Perfect, lesson over.
Remember, I'm trying to keep track of certain writing styles to see how the show changes over time, so this is kind of cool. But on the topic of Pinkie, as Fluttershy gets paralyzed from fear, Pinkie and the kids show up and...
Nightmare Moon is here and she stole Fluttershy's voice so she can't scream when she gobbles her up!
That was some impeccable timing.
Come on, princess. Time for plan B.
I like how the town just went straight back to their shenanigans after being terrified and driving the princess away.
Applejack is one of the most likable ponies around. I'm sure she'll have some ideas.
I just realized something about Applejack's design. What kind of moron wears a flower on their hat?
Any pony seen Pip? We lost him the last time we had to run.
Is Pinkie implying that she left a child for dead? Anyways, this little misunderstanding causes a frenzy around town, featuring some... I guess you could call it cringe comedy, since Luna's making a fool of herself and causing a scene.
Not enough fun for you? What say you to this?
But it's not exactly comedic, it's just a painful watch.
Huzzah! How many points do I receive?
So I'm not sure what the rhetorical point of this is, if there is one. I guess it could be relatable. I, for one, do cause scenes and act like a fool in public. Perhaps the intention was to show us that we should remain gentle even in times of distress, since all the ponies seem to be getting along with her while she was gentle.
Here, princess. I ask that thou call us, me, Luna, fair Applejack. Hear me, villagers, all of you. Call me Luna. Luna.
Then again, that involves me improving myself as a person when I'm already perfect. Why are they hiding the Illuminati in my show? Did this guy seriously put on a cowboy hat and call it a day? You realize that half of this world are cowboys, right? That's basically if for a Halloween costume, all you wore is a suit and tie. Or better yet, I don't know, a McDonald's uniform. Or even better, if you put on a backpack and called it a day. Student costume. Sure, I guess cowboys exist in real life, and wearing a cowboy hat for a costume would count as a legitimate costume. But remember that the reason you're supposed to wear a costume for this occasion is to hide your true form so you don't get eaten. I'm not sure if Nightmare Moon will be able to tell that this is supposed to be a costume, or if it's just a normal pony and proceed to eat him. If she thinks this counts as a costume, by that logic, Applejack doesn't have to wear an actual costume, judging by how she always has a cowboy hat on. But speaking of costumes, these three are gonna get gobbled up because they have no costumes. But on that note, it's funny how Sprinkle Medley got a minifigure, and because the people designing it based the design solely on this shot, this is how it looks like. This would have been perfect if they just made the eye normal, but go off, I guess. But speaking of these minifigures, I think they did Lyra's mummy costume a great ton of justice.
Yuck.
At least they added the cutie mark so we can tell who it is. That was totally necessary and isn't the nail in the coffin of how horrendous this looks. But speaking of Lyra, she changes her costume and then proceeds to go back to the original one, which is odd.
Since you choose to fear your princess rather than love her, we decree that Nightmare Night shall be cancelled!
From this, we hear a kid say,
But I want it to be a zombie next year.
which actually sounds kind of morbid. Same goes for when parents in real life dress their kids as ghosts and skeletons for Halloween. Because these things are tied with death and represent death and are things we can only become after we die, sure, I guess we are technically skeletons inside, but you get what I mean. So I'm just wondering why you would dress your child as something they'll eventually be / can only be after they die. And by that logic, it's a little concerning that that's the one specific thing this girl wants to be, but alright.
Luna was happy. Every pony in town was happy. Now look at them.
I'm going to do what I do best. Lecture her. Princess?
Leave me be, Twilight Sparkle.
Wow, another instance of the Buddhist peace symbol. Tilted 45 degrees and everything this time. Wow. Alright then. First of all, you hide the Illuminati symbol, and now this? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to instill into our kids? Speaking of which... what another great lesson for the kids. Follow candy on the ground that leads into a dark alleyway.
You remember Princess Luna, right?
Hast thou come to make peace?
Okay, I'm just gonna skip over how Pinky just laid an egg, since that's part of the joke, but why is the egg purple? Is this secretly another kidnapped dragon egg? Also, I like how if she was actually scared here, the implication is that she just abandoned her young. That is in line with how she left Pip to get eaten earlier, so full marks for consistency, I guess.
Nightmare Night's not over yet. We still have candy left to give.
Come on, little ponies. What's Nightmare Night without the annual candy offering?
There's a designated candy offering time? Why was that earlier then? You guys are trying to bleed these kids dry of their candy. Also, the mayor was there to witness the kids offer candy earlier, so what's she going off about? What a confusing cut. It initially appears as if this pile was already here despite not being in the previous shot, but then you see that Pip was actually last in line and that's why the candy pile wasn't there, but now it is. So the way this is edited does make logical sense, but it would have probably flowed better if the sequence cut after showing Sweetie Belle in front of the line pouring her candy down. Also, judging by how all this was left earlier, and they've since disappeared with Princess Luna presumably snacking on the candy from earlier, from the original pile, judging by how it's all gone, and she was playing with a piece of candy, and that would mean that she's gonna eat all this as well. How does Luna not have diabetes? Not to mention all this that she gets later. And now that I think about it, okay, this hurts my head. Bear with me here, I'm freestyling this. So obviously, all the years celebrating Nightmare Night, Princess Luna wouldn't have been down there to actually eat this candy. So what did they do with all this whenever kids left it in front of the statue? As in, you could leave some cookies and milk out for Santa Claus, but if it's gone in the morning, obviously it was eaten by like one of your parents or something. Because if it's still there the next morning, that tells the kid that Santa Claus isn't real. I mean, Santa Claus probably is real, but just like for the sake of argument, let's just say that's what happens, right? So by that logic, I'm assuming like the organizers of these events would just split the offered candy amongst themselves. But now that Princess Luna is here, is the candy rightfully hers now? I don't know. I think that's just something to consider.
Citizens of Ponyville, I am pleased with your offering. So pleased that I may just eat it instead of eating you.
Okay, that's a funny visual gag, but is the implication that she can't morph her teeth? I get that's the joke, but maybe it's actually clever, since perhaps that implies that while she can shapeshift her body, she can't shapeshift her bones. That gives us some pretty cool insight into magic of this world. But speaking of Luna's anatomy...
Princess Luna.
Isn't it great how you can pull on her hair instead of just phasing through it? I'm not sure what to think of that.
Yeah, Nightmare Night is my favorite night of the year.
Well then, we shall have to bring Nightmare Night back!
You're my favorite princess ever!
Yeah, if we're not counting Twilight, you're speaking for about probably 90% of the fandom here, buddy.
Dear Princess Celestia, when you first sent me to Ponyville, I didn't know anything about friendship.
At least this episode gives us something new. Redeeming villains.
I met some pony tonight who was having the same problem. Your sister, Princess Luna.
I sure hope that they don't run that concept into the ground.
Obviously, Luna's character design has been drastically changed from her one other appearance so far from the season 1 premiere. Her coat's a darker color, her mane is magical now, you have eyes. Honestly, I dig the original design. I'm not sure I'd say I'd like it better than the second one, and the fascination I have with the old one could really just be scarcity bias, but this design is definitely cuter. And I wonder if this change was strictly for aesthetic purposes, because the older design is a little blander in comparison, or if there's actual lore reason for this. Especially because we get flashbacks to before Nightmare Moon happened, and we see that she has her current design even all the way back then. Somebody actually asked Goddess Faust about this, based on this Facebook post that came out 2 days before the episode to tease it, and I do want to make a quick side note and just point out how it's difficult to find a single negative comment on this post, and everyone just seemed to be really excited for it, especially for Luna's grand return. I thought this made for some nice footnote to paint a picture of what the vibes of this fandom were like, while early show was still airing. Quite wholesome 100. Anyway, she responded by saying, "When Nightmare Moon was defeated, her evil power was eradicated. Luna was reborn with her magic levels very low. It took time for her good power to come back to her, and now she is healed, reformed, and rehabilitated, and is indicated by her magic mane." I just made that up. I don't know how the new showrunners would explain it, but that's how I would. This one makes sense, but judging by the fact that the writers introduced the Canterlot voice thing along with Luna using old-timey English like so.
This is the traditional royal Canterlot voice. It is tradition to speak using the royal we, and to use this much volume when addressing our subjects.
When she didn't originally,
I'm so sorry.
might be an indicator that everything about her character going forward is a retcon of the only other appearance of her. Then again, I guess we could also excuse this by saying that the only character Luna spoke to in that episode was her own sister, so there would be no need for that extra fancy stuff.
I missed you so much, big sister.
Who knows?
Though, speaking of characters voiced by Tabitha St. Germain, you may have caught on to the fact that Rarity doesn't appear in the episode at all. Not even in the background, which is odd. The main focus of this episode is one of her characters, so it's not like she was busy. I mean, even Granny Smith gets a line in the episode. But apparently she was supposed to appear in it, and not only in this apple bobbing scene, but also according to the goddess, in an earlier draft of the episode, Rarity was supposed to still be working on her costume because she's a perfectionist, with Twilight getting her to make Luna a costume. And there was supposed to be a joke where because it looked too pinkish, she tore it all off, but a piece of costume in her mouth was going to get Pinky to think she's a cannibal.
That sounds like it would have been funny.
At least we got to see what the costume potentially would have looked like based on this asset from some sticker game thing. Obviously, this is an edit of the season 1 design, so who knows what the final design would have actually looked like, unless the original cut of this episode actually featured the season 1 design, which is pretty interesting. I have no idea why her skin is pink. I mean, I guess technically all horse skins are pink, I think. Her coat, I don't know why her coat is pink. I mean, poor Rarity. Her scene in the episode Applebug season was also cut for time. She always seems to be getting the short end of the stick for things like that. But then again, I guess that's what keeps her true to her name as a Rarity.
Ha 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 ha.
Alright then, thank you guys so much for watching this far into the video. I want to apologize for not uploading in like over a month. Sorry, real life is getting a little hectic, but we'll bounce back. We always do. I want to give a huge thanks to my patrons. David, Jack Ryan, Gio Nguyen, Kurisu, Leafycune, Libbylicious, Nyx, Stupid Bitch, Taya, The Farter29, Ultrasonic Rainboom, and Verfirmed Mutt Joe. You guys are awesome, and if you watching would also like your name in the credits of my videos, feel free to pledge and I'll be forever in your debt. Other than that, go check out my other channel, F-2, if you want confirmation that I'm still alive in between these main channel uploads. And also, follow me on Instagram. I've never plugged that on this channel before, but that's a good idea. But with all that out of the way, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one. I'm gonna go get some sleep because I pulled an all-nighter to finish this, so yeah.